In the heart of this town, where the blue-collar folks roll, you'll find a scene that makes the everyday so.
Welcome back, everyone, to the podcast. I'm your host, Rod, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have a familiar face, a fan favorite, back in the booth with me today. My good friend, former PBA regional standout, Bobby. Welcome back to the show, man.
Rod, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to dive into this one, especially after what we saw at the 2026 PBA U.S. Open. What a tournament.
It really was. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. The 2026 PBA U.S. Open, a monumental event, not just for the incredible $100,000 first place check, but for the sheer test of skill it presented. We saw Patrick Dombrowski come out on top, defeating none other than the great Anthony Simonsen in a thrilling final. But Bobby, what everyone's been buzzing about, what truly defines the U.S. Open, are those legendary oil patterns. This isn't your average league night, is it?
Absolutely not, Rod. The U.S. Open is called bowling's toughest test for a reason. It's a 56-game marathon, both physical and mental. You're talking about a limited field, top-tier talent, and then they throw these brutally difficult oil patterns at you. It really separates the elite from the great, you know? It's not just about throwing a good ball. It's about endurance, strategy, and adapting to conditions that change almost every shot.
56 games? That's just insane. And what makes it even more challenging is that they're not just bowling on one lane condition the whole time, right? The USBC outlines that they bowl 24 qualifying games on 3 different oil patterns. Then, after the cut, they switch to a fourth for the final 8 games and match play. How does that even work?
It's a chess match, Rod. Plain and simple. Imagine you're playing basketball, and every quarter the court changes size or the hoop height is different. That's essentially what these bowlers are facing. They have to adjust their line, their ball speed, their rev rate, and even their equipment, sometimes within the same block of games as the oil breaks down. And to make it even tougher, they're only allowed to check in a total of 10 bowling balls before competition begins.
10 balls for 4 distinct patterns? That's a huge limitation. I mean, for a regular league bowler, 10 balls is a whole arsenal. But for these pros, who might have specific balls designed for specific conditions, that must be a massive strategic decision, right?
It is. Every ball in that bag has to serve a purpose. You can't just bring whatever feels good. You need a diverse selection, a few strong aggressive balls for heavy oil, some smoother, more controlled options for when the lanes dry out, and maybe something in between. And even then you have to be ready to make micro adjustments because what works on one pair of lanes might be completely different on the next, even on the same pattern. They call it pair-to-pair skipping, and it's a nightmare sometimes.
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. The USBC description mentioned Pattern 1 for the 2026 U.S. Open was a dead-flat 45-foot pattern inspired by the early 2000s U.S. Open patterns. It also said it used 27.25 milliliters of Kegel ice oil and had a 1-to-1 ratio. What does dead-flat and 1-to-1 ratio mean for us laymen?
Great question, Rod. Dead flat is probably the scariest 2 words a bowler can hear. It means the oil is laid down evenly across the lane, from gutter to gutter, for the entire length of the pattern. There's no buildup of oil in the middle, no dry outside, and when it says 1-to-1 ratio, it means the amount of oil on the outside part of the lane is exactly the same as the amount of oil on the inside. Most house shots you bowl on have a much higher ratio, maybe 5-1 or 8-1, meaning there's a lot more oil in the middle. A 1.1 ratio gives you 0 room for error. If you miss your target by an inch, that ball is either going straight or hooking way too much, with no forgiveness.
So basically, no bumpers for your ball to hit. It's like bowling on glass. And the 45-foot length, that's pretty long, right?
Exactly. 45 feet means the oil goes almost all the way down the lane. Your ball is staying in oil for a long time, which makes it harder to get the ball to hook in the back end. The description says it encouraged players to play deep on the lane and be creative on how to get their ball through the front part of the lane, especially later in the round. This means you're trying to find a spot far left, maybe around the 20 board, and almost throw it out towards the gutter, letting it skid through the oil and conserve energy for the dry back part of the lane. Creativity is key because what works on shot 1 might not work on shot 5 as the oil moves around.
That sounds incredibly nuanced. All right, let's move to pattern 2. This one was described as a shorter version of a template used since 2015, 41 feet long with a 38-foot drop brush using Kegel terrain and ice oils. It also had left and right side ratios of 1.37 to 1 and 1.73 to 1 respectively. What's a drop brush, and how do these ratios differ from the flat pattern?
The drop brush is essentially where the oil machine stops applying oil. So on a 41-foot pattern with a 38-foot drop brush, the oil goes out to 41 feet, but the pattern itself, where the oil is evenly applied, might be shorter. It means there's a distinct line where the oil ends. These specific ratios, 1.37 on the left and 1.73 on the right, tell us a few things. First, they're still very low, meaning it's still a challenging pattern with minimal forgiveness. But, crucially, they're not 0.1. There's slightly more oil in the middle of the lane than on the outside edges, especially on the right side. This allows for an outside line to succeed, meaning some players might be able to play closer to the gutter, using the slight dry area to get their ball to turn. But it's still very tricky.
So, a little more room to breathe in pattern 1, but still not much. The description also mentioned the machine slowing down towards the end of the pattern makes for unusual ball motion, and that pair-to-pair skipping can be very challenging. What does that imply?
The machine slowing down part is interesting. It suggests the oil application might not be perfectly consistent towards the end of the pattern, which can lead to unpredictable ball reactions. One shot might hit the break point just right, and the next, with the same release, might overhook or underhook. And pair-to-pair skipping, as I mentioned earlier, means you can throw the exact same shot on two adjacent lanes and get completely different results. It's often due to subtle differences in the lane surface or how the oil machine laid down the pattern on that specific pair. It forces bowlers to be constantly aware and make adjustments, even if they think they've found the line.
Sounds like a mental game as much as a physical one. How about pattern 3? This one was 37 feet with a 29-foot drop brush, and it was a shorter version of a 2019 USBC Open Championships team pattern. It was a multi-angle pattern with 27.5 milliliters of ice oil and left-right ratios of 1.98 to 1. Now we're getting close to a 2-1 ratio. Is that a friendlier pattern?
Relatively speaking, yes. A 1.98 to 1 ratio offers a bit more forgiveness, but it's still considered very challenging in professional bowling. It's almost double the oil in the middle compared to the outside. A 37-foot pattern is short, meaning the ball will get out of the oil much sooner and start to hook earlier. The multi-angle pattern description is key here. Because it's shorter and has a slightly higher ratio, it opens up more lines to the pocket. Some bowlers might be able to play a direct, straighter shot up the lane, while others might still swing it out to the dry. It allows for different styles to succeed, which can be a double-edged sword. More options mean more decisions, and the wrong decision can cost you.
So, less precise targeting needed, but more strategic thinking about which angle to take. That makes sense. Finally, we get to pattern 4, the one used for the final 8 games, match play, and the TV show. This was a 40-foot pattern with a 36-foot drop brush using 30.15 milliliters of Kegel ice oil. The description called it very tough and said it forced players to be precise with their shots due to the significant out of bounds due to the flatness of the oil pattern. This sounds like the ultimate test.
Oh, it absolutely is. This is where champions are truly made. 40 feet is a medium length, but the flatness mentioned here implies another low ratio, probably close to 1.1 again, even if not explicitly stated. The significant out of bounds means if you miss your target just a board or two to the outside, that ball is dead. It won't recover. If you miss too far inside, it's going straight into the nose. The 36-foot drop brush on a 40-foot pattern also creates a very defined breakpoint, meaning your ball has to hit a very specific spot in the last few feet of the pattern to get to the pocket. Precision, precision, precision. That's the only word you need for pattern 4.
So these bowlers are coming off 3 other challenging patterns, then they get hit with this beast for the money rounds. It's no wonder Patrick Dombrowski winning felt so significant, especially against someone as consistent as Simonsen. What kind of player excels on these types of patterns, Bobby?
You need a complete player, Rod. Someone with impeccable physical game, who can repeat shots perfectly under pressure. But even more so, you need someone with an incredible mental game. They have to be able to read the lanes, understand how the oil is breaking down, and make quick, intelligent adjustments. You saw it with Dombrowski. He's known for his versatility and his ability to adapt. On flat patterns like these, rev rate control, hand position, and knowing when to make subtle moves on the approach are critical. He obviously found a way to consistently hit his mark and manage the oil breakdown better than anyone else, including a player of Simonsen's caliber. Simonsen is known for his power, but sometimes on these flat, tough patterns, finesse and consistency can be more valuable.
It sounds like every shot is a mini puzzle, and the U.S. Open is a 56-piece mega puzzle. I can only imagine the mental fatigue. You mentioned the equipment limitations earlier. How do the pros manage that with so many different patterns? Do they save certain balls for certain patterns?
Absolutely. That 10-ball limit means careful planning. Before the tournament, they'll analyze the pattern sheets, just like we are now. They'll try to pick balls that offer different reactions, some with strong aggressive covers for heavy oil, some with smoother, earlier reads, and maybe a few benchmark balls that are good all-arounders. They might reserve a specific ball, say a solid reactive with a strong core, for pattern 1, knowing they'll need maximum hook. Then they might have a pearl reactive which skids longer and reacts sharper for the shorter, drier patterns where they need more back-end motion. It's all about having options but being disciplined enough to stick to your plan, while also being flexible enough to adjust when conditions inevitably change.
So they're not just picking their 10 favorite balls, they're curating an arsenal. That's fascinating. And the fact that they can sub in equipment after qualifying and before the television show means they get a chance to reevaluate their choices, which is a small mercy, I suppose.
It is, because by that point they have a much clearer idea of how the patterns are actually playing, how the oil is transitioning, and what they'll likely face in match play. Maybe a ball they thought would be great for a certain condition isn't reacting as they expected, or perhaps the lanes are breaking down in an unforeseen way. That opportunity to swap out a ball or two can be crucial for the final push. It's another layer of strategy on top of everything else.
Bobby, this has been incredibly insightful. You've really broken down these complex oil patterns into something much more understandable. It just goes to show you how much goes into a professional bowling tournament, especially one as prestigious and demanding as the PBA U.S. Open. It's not just about knocking down pins. It's a science, an art, and a brutal test of mental fortitude.
Exactly, Rod. And that's why events like the U.S. Open are so compelling. They push the boundaries of what's possible in the sport and highlight the incredible skill and adaptability of these athletes. It's a true champions tournament, and Patrick Dombrowski certainly earned his title this year.
Couldn't agree more. Bobby, thank you so much for joining me today and shedding light on these intricate details. It's been a real education.
It's wonderful to be able to share this information, Rod. Always great to be here.
And thank you all for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the oil patterns of the 2026 PBA U.S. Open. Until next time, keep those balls rolling, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
So next time you're looking to roll with your mates, know the joy of bowling celebrates all fates, with every strike ringing out like a song in this blue-collar game. You know we all belong. You know we all